Hello, Facebook Live. Marcus here. How's it going? It is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Looks like another day that we're going to hit 50 degrees here in New York in March. It's very exciting. Might go on a bike ride again today. Hopefully going to go on a bike ride today again today. If not, get out for a nice run, maybe on the trails. But I want to talk about you are what you eat. And just the premise of why we do what we do at Aromatime and sort of the history of my cooking experience, or what altered my path to making healthier real food. So of course, a lot of people are talking right now the coronavirus. A lot of people are talking build your immune system, eat good food, build your immune system, take vitamins, take vitamin C, take zinc, all these things. And Jamie and I are firm believers that you are what you eat, and your immune system definitely starts with the quality of the food that you put into your body. If you go on and read any of these health gurus, they will tell you that your immune system, a good portion of your immune system is located in your gut bacteria, and that's like your first line of defense is actually the food that you eat. So Jamie and I went through a food revolution back in the late 90s. See, prior to this, I had asthma, terrible asthma. I had pneumonia every couple of years. My immune system was very compromised. I was on a lot of medicine. 28 years old, I was a total wreck, total mess. And I literally had asthma since the day I was born. And literally growing up as a kid, I would miss so much school in the wintertime because I was always sick. And at 28 years old, I decided to clean up my diet. Well, things got worse when I became a professional chef and I started cooking in restaurants, because I had access to a lot of food all the time. And some of the food was supposed to be high quality, 5-star food, tastes good food. But the bottom line, it was literally tons of sugar, tons of flour, fried food, creme brulees, all these kinds of things, lots of cheese, lots of white flours, all these foods that were just compiling up. And every job I had taken, I had gained a pant size, and it was just, just understood, hey, new job, another pant size, and this happened until I was 28 years old, and I was very overweight, very just run down, just feeling terrible all the time. And again, I was sick. I remember working at the Greenbrier one year, and I had pneumonia twice. I was in the hospital twice in one winter. Beginning of December, I was out ice sculpting, and I ended up getting sick, having pneumonia, missed a week of work. And then back like in February or March again, towards the end, I remember getting sick again, having pneumonia for the second time. And the chef there at the time, Robert Wong, said, Marcus, you need to eat better. You need to build your immune system. You're getting sick a lot. And back then I was like, yeah, I didn't realize there was a correlation. But at 28 years old, I really buckled down. I said, no more of this junk food, this crap food. No more soda, no more this, no more that, no more. And within a matter of 3 months, I totally revolutionized my health. I've not had pneumonia since. That's been 20 years now. I have not, I do get colds, I do get sick, I do get the flu here and there, but nothing like I used to up until I was the age of 28, nothing like it. Of course, we've raised our kids on high quality, good food, the same food that we serve here at the restaurant, just real food, no chemicals, no excessive sugar, no fried foods, no white flour and everything, nothing. We've raised our kids on that premise of the very same food that we serve here at the restaurant. And Courtney, if you know Courtney, she's going to be turning 21, and Justin is turning 18. They've only been on antibiotics once in their whole life, and that was for Lyme disease, unfortunately. We took them to an alternative doctor, and this is what was prescribed, was 3 months of antibiotics. But other than that, my kids have never had bronchitis, they've never had pneumonia, they've never been in bed sick like that, they've never taken antibiotics, they've never had ear infections, they've never had anything like this. And people keep saying, Marcus, well, what are you guys doing? I was like, well, we are what we eat. And if you keep eating this food, being a professional chef, I was appalled by how food is processed. I go to a lot of food shows. I see a lot of things. I go to Restaurant Depot and I pick out the few things that we can buy at Restaurant Depot that actually fit our mold. We just got back from a big restaurant show in New York City, and there was this healthy food section. It was called the Healthy Food Expo was in with it. And Jamie and I are walking around looking at some of these vendors, like cake vendors with sugar and white flour, and There was another fried food, like making like fried mac and cheese logs, and there was a dressing, a salad dressing company there that had all these like terrible salad dressings out. And I was talking to the guy, and I'm like, so what's like special about your product here? Like, you're in this health food section. Like, he's like, well, this is. I'm like, but that's like one component. I was like, you still have hexane gas in the oil? He's like, well, yeah, there's still hexane gas. No, it's like, but it's not grown organically. It's still heat processed, refined to 500 degrees, and bleached and deodorized. I'm like, it's not all. He's like, well, yeah. I'm like, so what are you doing in the health food section? That so our conception of eating healthy and the way consumers or the way food manufacturers make us feel this way is they're still putting out a lot of junk food and still making us feel like we're eating healthy, and that's not the reality. You have to look at every single ingredient, every single package, and everything, and be strict about it. Jamie and I are so strict with a lot of things here. Literally last week, I was sold some sole, Alaskan sole. I was told by somebody who I know and trust, Marcus, I've got this great product. You're gonna like it. It's Alaskan sole. This, and this, and everything lined up perfect to a T. It comes in. I look at the box and it says, "Product of Alaska, processed in China." And then it listed a couple other things. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I gotta send it back. I can't keep this. You have to be strict on the food that you eat. It's you are what you eat. It's one of the oldest, sayings we know that exists, right? And we don't know who told it to us, but we just know that we always keep hearing it. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. And I hear a lot of people, once you start eliminating certain foods out of your diet and you start feeling better and go back to those foods, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel a world of difference. And a lot of people always say to us, the restaurant, I feel full, but I'm not bloated after I eat here. We go to great deals to avoid all kinds of chemicals and like, and in this natural food section again, we walk up to this person who has sun-dried tomatoes. And so I'm looking at the sun-dried tomatoes. I look at the ingredients, and I said, are these the right package that's here? I was like, because you have pumped-in sugar, you have sulfites in here, you have all this stuff, and it's a fillers and something as simple as sun-dried tomatoes. And he goes, oh, yeah. I'm like, but you're in the natural food section of this food show, and you're showing me stuff that's not natural, stuff that's not healthy. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, folks, this kind of stuff happens day in and day out, and you have to read ingredients. You have to educate yourself. You have to really understand that the food industry is telling us anything they want to, and just telling us this food is healthy, and just pumping it to us and giving it to us. And the way they word things, it's so tricky and this and that. Jamie and I have dedicated this restaurant to educating people and serving the best food possible. So walking throughout this whole health food section, there must have been like 45, 50, how many tables, Jamie? 60 tables?
A lot of tables.
How many things could we actually legitimately buy in a healthy food expo?
Oh gosh, maybe
Less than 10?
Maybe 10.
Less than 10 things there were legitimately healthy in a healthy food expo. But most chefs would walk into there and be like, oh, great, this and that and that and that, and just start buying stuff or serving it or saying, and just thinking that this is what's healthy. It's not. We're being so misled. And Jamie and I are just fed up with it, and this is why we don't serve this. This is the main reason we opened Aroma Time with this kind of theme. We wanted everything to be here in the restaurant we would consume personally. Going through that health revolution at 28 years old and getting off all my medications, getting rid of my asthma, getting rid of everything I ever had medically wrong with me, and it was all through diet and lifestyle. We changed it all through diet and lifestyle. So, especially now, folks, that coronavirus is out there, this scare of coronavirus, it's so important to eat healthy, good food and take high quality supplements. So people are asking me, Marcus, what are you taking? What are you taking? Something that we take all the time is spirulina. We've taken this a lot more now because spirulina will boost your immune system. I always take chlorella. Chlorella is always an awesome thing to take, broken cell wall chlorella. But one thing that Jamie and I are really being diligent about now is zinc. We're taking a lot more zinc now. We're taking zinc lozenges. We were just in New York City. We were around a lot of people, and we're popping. Of course, we're doing being precautionary, washing hands, and all that kind of stuff. But the zinc lozenges to boost your immune system, Jamie and I are popping a couple of those a day to just keep our immune system up and going and rocking and rolling. Another thing that I hear a lot of alternative health people say, a lot of health gurus say, is the more you keep your body in motion, the more your immune system is active, and the more you can keep it up and keep it strong and healthy. Like the rebounder, if you do some research on rebounder exercises, getting your lymphs pumping, just simple rebounding is very, very good for boosting your immune system. So folks, you are what you eat. So just be careful. There's a lot of really pathetic, terrible foods out there, and the food manufacturers, all they care about is just making money, making money, making money. Now, we were in this, like I said, we're in this healthy food expo with 60 different vendors, only a handful of things that we could actually buy. When you cross into the Javits, into the main room, there was food distributors everywhere, and of course there's no claims of being healthy. And I got to tell you, folks, that in that room there was maybe, with between 700-800 distributors, vendors, there was maybe only 10 things in that whole big room that we could actually legitimately buy for our restaurant that were chemical free, that weren't highly processed, things like that. And there were some people there that had some really strong high claims, and you walk up and you just look at their stuff and it's like, well, that's farm salmon. This is farm salmon loaded with all kinds of things that you would want to put into your body. And so it's a real eye opener once you can see like what food really does, how it does to our body, and how food is actually made and processed, and just massive amounts of this food just being processed and processed and processed. And I started this whole thing when I was a young chef. I must have been like 20, 21 years old. And when you work at a big hotel and 2-3 18-wheelers pull in and they sit there for hours just unloading pallet and pallet and pallet and pallet of food to serve the 2,000 guests you have that day, when you start seeing things like in these box forms, I started questioning myself, like, where in the world is all this food coming from? Where is all of this food being manufactured, processed? How in the world can we get 8-ounce filet mignons, box after box after box after box after box, that are so identical, uniform? Like, where's this all being produced? And this is how this all first started with me. I started questioning, like, how is this all possible? Like, this is just one hotel out of the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hotels across America that are serving 1,000 people a day, 2,000 people a day. And I was in Colorado at the time. I was like, where's all this coming from? Jamie and I went on a farm tour back in 97, 98. We met a potato farmer in the San Luis Valley who would not eat his own potatoes, because potatoes, that russet Burbank, that oval, that Dakota potato that they make French fries with, this is the number one potato they make French fries with. All right, we don't touch this potato unless we buy it organically. Don't touch this potato at all. And it's a lot more for organic baking potatoes. These baking potatoes that have this high starch content, we found out when we were visited there, we saw things roped off with skull and crossbows. We're like, well, so what's going on out here in the fields? It looks like you can't enter the fields. And we were explained that those potatoes, those oval potatoes, have those little brown spots inside that hollow out. Well, you can't really make great French fries with those because that's in there. So the manufacturers, the food processors, and consumers don't want to see that anyway. When they buy it in the store. So I said, well, so how do they take care of this? They go, well, we spray a neurological damaging chemical out in the fields. And that's why the government won't allow us to get into the fields, because this toxic chemical that we spray on the fields to stop that brown hollow spot from forming inside the potatoes. These farmers that grow these potatoes do not eat their own potatoes. They do not eat them. They won't go into their field. If irrigation breaks, they don't go into their field to fix irrigation because they don't want to be exposed to these chemicals that they're spraying on our food supply so they can make a living, so McCain or whoever, whatever these companies are, can keep processing more potatoes, more potatoes, more potatoes. They're uniform potatoes. And so I said to the one organic guy, I said to the news, Paul and Ernie knew, I said, so what kind of potatoes are you guys growing? Because you guys are growing organic here. It's like, well, Marcus, if you grow the heirloom varietals, the Yukons, the other ones, the Franklins, you don't have that problem in those potatoes, so you don't need to spray that chemical. It's a simple thing. Stop eating French fry potatoes. Stop eating baking potatoes that are sprayed with this. That's where it's all coming from, is from that potato. But this stuff is in our shelves, folks, in our stores, in McDonald's, in high-end restaurants. Are buying conventional potatoes that are sprayed with this neurological damaging chemical, and it's just assumed that it's safe, and it's getting put out there. You are what you eat. There's a massive detriment to our health in general, to just the whole population, of all this terrible food. And Jamie and I took a stand against this back in the late 90s, and I realized that I couldn't work for anybody else anymore. That I couldn't go to a job anymore and work for somebody else, knowing that I couldn't eat the potatoes. I would not eat the potatoes myself that we're serving to the guests. And of course, it wasn't my operation, so I couldn't buy organic. I was working for somebody else. I was working in a country club, and that's just what the protocol was. This is what we needed. They don't care about, restaurants don't care about this. Country clubs don't care about this. Hotels care very little. They care, all these places care very, 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 very little about this. Their big thing of, most restaurants think they're healthy when they trip over a couple cases of zucchini in the summertime because there's so much zucchini at the local farm, or they're buying local tomatoes in the summertime, or they go to the farmer's market and buy a few things and then turn around and buy the cheapest possible oil, the cheapest possible sugar, the cheapest possible salt, go to Restaurant Depot to fill in all this stuff, make salad dressing out of some toxic hexane gas, bleached, deodorized oil that's, high in omega-9s or whatever, that's not even balanced, and then throwing all this kind of oil in the fryer to cook the same thing. And it's insane what is happening to our food supply. So you are what you eat. I'm happy to have a lot more conversations about this, or do more videos about this, because it's so important that we understand that we are, that food is a direct quality of our life. And I'm living proof of that. At 28 years old, changed my diet massively and changed my health massively. Got rid of every single medication I was on: prescription deodorant, acid reflux, asthma. I was on steroids. I had a nebulizer at home. It was insane, the medications I was on until I was 28 years old. And then once I did this whole health revolution, my doctor, by the way, it was unsupervised by my doctor. My doctor had no idea what to tell me what to do. I had to read book after book on health. So I had to read books like, this was the most pivotal book in my whole revolution, food revolution, was Get Healthy Now by Gary Null. This book revolutionized how I thought about nutrition and what was in our food supply, and it was amazing. And I swear by this book. I went and bought that book, and I just read. I was addicted to that book, and that book right there, within a matter of, a week, I was like, I now know so much more about nutrition than I've been taught through school, through life, through whatever. I've learned so much, and I started applying those techniques, and that's right there, which is how it catapulted me into getting rid of all the meds. And of course, my doctor didn't understand that book. My doctor didn't understand a single thing I was doing. And I was faced with this challenge of how do I go to work now and then continue to cook fancy food, 5-star food, knowing that the fork was killing me, but yet we're charging a lot of money for it to guests. And at the Broadmoor, the Greenbrier, even at one of the restaurants I was working at in Colorado, we're charging a lot of money for this kind of food that just was not some real ingredients, but overall, when you look at the whole picture of taking all the other ingredients in the kitchen and putting it together, it was such an abomination of food, of nutrition, of everything. And a lot of restaurants will say, we're farm to table, we use better ingredients. But when you take all the other ingredients that they have in the place, the GMO this, the GMO that, the trans fats this, the high sugar this, the white flour, the cheap fryer oil, when you add all that to the other ingredients, it offsets it, and everything is just, it's terrible. And Jamie and I would have tough times going out to eat a lot, and we still do have tough times going out to eat because we want to nurture ourselves. We want to eat better food. So when I eat bad food, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can totally feel what I just ate. We all have experienced that. A lot of people think that's normal to feel full and bloated and things like that after a meal. That's not normal. And with all the chemicals and the fillers, and the more I did research when I was younger, the more and more I got frustrated. So I literally could not work for anybody else. So the only option for me was to open my own restaurant, where I could say, I'm now in charge of getting rid of bromide in all of our flour products. I'm now in charge of getting rid of trans fats in all the products we serve. I'm now in charge of getting rid of white flour. I'm now in charge of not having a fryer. I'm now the one who it comes down. These are my decisions, and I'm serving you the food that I would actually eat myself, and the food that nurtured me back. And you'd be surprised, folks. The body is so resilient, and when you start giving it high quality foods, what your body can do is amazing. So amazing. And again, right now, especially with coronavirus, you really want to be eating a lot of high quality foods to boost your immune system. Stay away from the sugar, stay away from the trans fats, stay away from the fried foods, stay away from the white flour, stay away from just eat a pure, natural, diet, understand every ingredient that's going in there, understand where your salt's coming from, understanding if your salt's being processed, or if it has minerals in it. All these kinds of things make a massive, massive difference. So, all right, folks, I know I talked on for a while. I appreciate all the support. If you're watching live, drop a comment, #live. If it was on the replay, #replay. It's Wednesday. We're closed today, but we're back open tomorrow on Thursday, serving our awesome, wholesome, award-winning food here at Aroma Time. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And because of you, our guests, our loyal guests, our regular guests, the guests who come in, anybody who comes in, because of you, you've allowed Jamie and I to keep sharing our passion for healthier food and helping local farms and just making people aware of what they eat and being able to create content on my YouTube channel. And you've been really key and instrumental in us carrying on this mission of just wanting to serve and being able to serve real food, and that's really been very, very important to us. So thank you very much. We really, really appreciate that, and talk to you soon. Everybody have a fantastic day. Enjoy the weather, and or the lack of winter. Enjoy the lack of winter. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.